Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we're trying to jam a bit of Eldrazi again. So in the last couple of days, a few Eldrazi decks have put up some 5-0s in some leagues, and I thought, let's have another dip in and see how the deck feels, because obviously this deck took a massive hit when Sowing Microspawn got banned, and people are still trying to figure out if it's viable at all. So this is what we're playing today. This is a Stompy deck. We are trying to lock people out with Chalice, which is mainly going to lock out cheap removal spells like Swords to Plowshares and Fatal Pushes, so that our Stompy creatures can swing through and win the game. We've got Eldrazi Linebreaker, which hits very hard. We also have Reality Smasher, which also hits pretty hard. So we're really maxing out on these big, hasty beaters here. We've got Thought-Knot Seer as a nice piece of disruption, as well as being a pretty good-sized body. We've got Glaring Fleshraker, because that can really pop off with things like Kozilek's Command, which also answers all sorts of problems, whether it's cards in graveyards or creatures we need to exile. We've then got Wastescape Battlemage, which is flexible. It can exile artifacts or enchantments, and it can bounce creatures so we can keep applying pressure. We have one of Sire of 7 Deaths. So this is a 7 mana, 7/7, first strike, vigilance, menace, trample, reach, lifelink, ward, pay 7 life. So generally speaking, this is going to, once it hits the table, it's probably going to deal at least 7 damage. And that is pretty good. And a lot of decks are just going to struggle against this because it's also able to block little creatures, which is where you sometimes lose the race with Eldrazi. If you're getting pecked away by 3 power flyers, this can sort of come in and gobble them up. We have an Endless one that's just a flexible threat on curve where we can dump lots of mana into it, or we can just have a little bit of early pressure with it and then do whatever. This particular list is running Grim Monolith, which is an interesting way of powering out some of the bigger spells, and it can also give us something to play on turn 1 off of like an Ancient Tomb. We've got a few Lotus Petals to help get the red cost for the Eldrazi Linebreaker, as well as Secluded Courtyard and the Cavern of Souls as red sources. Obviously, Eye of Ugin, Eldrazi Temple, these are lands that produce double mana for us. We've got ourselves City of Traitors to go alongside the Ancient Tomb. We've got 4 Wastelands because we're trying to apply pressure. We can also disrupt our opponent, so our pressure is easier to get over the line. There is also a one-of Wastes here, which, you know, if we get like Besaged or whatever, we can grab this and it helps us a little bit under Blood Moon style stuff. The Grim Monolith is also some tech that we used to use back in the day when Eldrazi just got banned in Modern and people playing in Legacy used to use things like Grim Monolith as a way of playing around Blood Moons and stuff because you have this source of 3 colourless mana. Sideboard-wise, 4 Leyline of the Void, not really a surprise. We have a one-off Mindbreak Trap for some decks like Storm. We've got ourselves some Dismembers if we need to take out some creatures. A Torpor Orb for things like Doomsday and Death and Taxes. Another Wastescape Battlemage if we need to hit artifacts or enchantments. A Null Rod, so we can try and shut down, again, like Storm decks, Mystic Forge as well. Some Disruptor Flutes as a generically good piece of interaction that can be quite flexible, so it can come in a whole bunch of matchups. And then a Karakas to bounce some scary legendary things like a Traxxas or a Grizzlebrand or whatever. So that's the deck. I'm going to see if it feels alright. Last time I played Eldrazi, it didn't feel amazing when we were playing a stock list. I did play like a really weird red Eldrazi list. It actually felt kind of cool, but we're going to try this more stock list and see if it feels okay in the meta today. Like, subscribe, let's get stomping. Have you got magic cards you don't want taking up space in your home, or do you just need some extra spending money? Well, my lovely sponsors 3for1 Trading are buying all collections, big and small. They are one of Europe's biggest traders and have a transparent process to sell them cards and make sure you're getting a good deal. Click the link in the description of this video to get an offer on your cards today. This hand is not very good. We don't really cast anything. Our mana base is incredibly fragile and not great. Let's mulligan. Ancient Tomb, that's what we want to see. We have a turn 1 Eldrazi Linebreaker. Sign me up for that one. Sire of 7 Deaths, you're a 7-drop. You can go back into the deck here. So I think playing out the Linebreaker on 1 makes a lot of sense here. And then we can play like a 3/3 and give it haste on the following turn. Unless we have to pivot into exiling something or bouncing something. Alright, Lair of the Hydra. That is not the sort of card in a deck that is going to be counterspelling us. So that is nice. Okay, we just have this Eldrazi Temple. There's Lotus Petal. Let's get stomping. Here we go. It's a big boy. We're attacking for 4 this turn. Next turn we can attack with a hasty Endless one as well, and we can make that a 4/4 because we have the Ancient Tomb and the Temple, so it'll be attacking as a 6 power guy. So we'll be attacking for 9 on turn 2. Another Sylvan Safekeeper. I don't think that's where our opponent wants to be. I'm imagining our opponent's playing some kind of Nadi mid-range, but our creatures are just going to be big enough here. Now, they might trade their Keen-Eye Curator for our Linebreaker if we attack. Is it better to get the Eye of Ugin out here or the Endless one? Sorry, or the Ancient Tomb. They're kind of the same thing for casting an Endless one. If I want to bounce this creature, how much mana does that cost us? It's 2 to bounce. So we can't do that right now. We play Eye of Ugin, it's easier to double spell. Right, let's give the Endless one haste. I don't think we're going to trade our Linebreaker because this is just more damage on the following turn. Because next turn we're going to bounce this, so they're not even going to have a blocker. I suspect this is going to be a Sylvan Safekeeper under the bus. No, they're just taking 6. Okay, so we might be able to kill them next turn. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 damage next turn. It's going to be like a white of the Reliquary, maybe. They could natural order, but we can bounce out whatever they natural order for. Okay, it's just a white of the Reliquary. Leaving up the Cradle. Right, so we get to bounce a creature here. I think I'm going to bounce the Keen-Eye Curator. Alright. They're going to sacrifice a land to protect it. It does feel like our opponent might have access to an Endurance here. So we attack with everything. They have to block at least one thing. If they've got an Endurance, they're playing off of this Cradle. That can be awkward. We're definitely attacking with this 2-2. It doesn't really do very much. I think we attack with a 4-4. Because these things trade into an Endurance. The Linebreaker doesn't. So I think we keep the Linebreaker back. No Endurance. We could have got in with the Linebreaker, I guess. Right, so we got 5 damage here. Into their face. That's quite a lot of damage. Sure. The Keen-Eye Curator has got 1 type underneath it. They're going to goal up the other 2 types. So they need 1 more type. But that's going to be a difficult one. Like their sorceries tend to be things like the Green Sun Zenith, which shuffles back in. So it might be difficult for them to get a 4th type. Alright, can we draw like a big monster? Reality Smasher, please. Not a Reality Smasher. So this is only a 2-2 now, so that's a lot less exciting. I guess we can always still pump it though. But do I want to come in with a Linebreaker? I think we're just going to come in with the same 2 we came with last turn. What they can do is they can white the Reliquary so they can block something and then sacrifice it. Kind of needed to draw a creature this turn. So this Linebreaker, if we hold it back, it's worth 3 damage every turn. If we attack, we get 6 damage in 1 turn. But obviously they can block around it and then we don't really get anywhere. If we pump itself, then we have 6 trample damage. They block it with like the Keen-Eye Curator. And then the White of the Reliquary blocks the 2-2. The Sylvan Safekeeper blocks the Endless one. The White of the Reliquary then sacks the Sylvan Safekeeper, phases out the Linebreaker. Yeah, it doesn't seem great for us if we attack with everything there. So here's a block on the Endless one. They're going to trade off this Keen-Eye Curator. Or are they going to do the phasing thing? So they can go get Talon Gates of Madara, phase out our Battlemage, or phase out their own Keen-Eye Curator. They're just getting a Dryad Arbor. Okay, so we traded our little 2-2 guy. Not bad. We'd love to draw a Reality Smasher. Sire of 7 Deaths would be even better though. We'd just come in with a giant, unassailable monster, and they would have a horrible time. Okay, Spring Heartland Tuco. This is pretty good. Making copies of their massive creature. Okay, so now we are the ones who are behind in terms of the power of our board. Their creature has Vigilance as well, so they should be coming in. Yep. I will take 5. We haven't taken any damage from Ancient Tomb yet. This is the classic Eldrazi problem where we're just not drawing. Ooh, okay. I take it all back. Let's go for another Linebreaker here. So we have what? 3, 6, 9. So we can attack with a 9 power trample creature. Again, they're just going to phase it out is the issue. But they have to phase it out. If we attack, I think we are putting it all on this Linebreaker and just send in 1 big Linebreaker. Force the Talon Gates out this turn. This should be able to gobble up a lot of our opponent's stuff they put in front of it. If we attack with the Endless one, they just eat it with the white. Alright, the White of the Reliquary is being tapped. This is probably going to be the Talon Gates of Madara, just phasing us out. This is also going to give them the mana to make another White of the Reliquary. Okay, we don't get the chance to draw another land. Like, we had definitely had draws that could have won us this game, but we are just living off the top, and our deck is quite mana rich. So drawing blank lands is something our deck is going to do more often than we would necessarily like. Okay, so they're going to make another White of the Reliquary. Pretty scary. 9 mana. Is this going to be a Green Sun Zenith for Crater Hoof? Do they still have Crater Hoof in the lists of Cradle Control these days? Oh no, they're just making a massive Hydra. This doesn't have Trample though, does it? But they're going to attack us with all of these, right? So if we don't block, then these both... So these become 7s. So we have to block. So we block here. This will become a 7. This will become a 7. This will become... So we can't... If we let 2 through, we're just dead. But I guess our opponent has to see it. So I'm imagining they're just going to tap their guys to have Vigilance. They sacrifice the Noble Hierarch and the White of the Reliquary token that is Summoning Sick. Actually, no, that's not going to put a creature into the graveyard, is it? Now, the issue we have here is all their creatures have Vigilance. And they're all bigger than us. Kozilek's Command. I guess we're doing something with this Kozilek's Command. I think we have to scry and make a bunch of guys here. Am I leaving up this Courtyard or not? This Courtyard can be the red mana we need for like another Linebreaker. X is 6. Right. Let's try this out. None of these get us out of the spot we're in. Just a bunch of useless lands. And we drew another useless land. So these are 6, 7. So we can make this a 10 power guy. So they can just soak up quite easily and then kill us. Yep, you got us, opponent. I thought we were cruising then, and then we just ran out of steam. Okay, I don't actually like Chalice of the Void very much in this matchup. I would rather have some removal spells. And maybe like a Wastescape Battlemage to bounce some stuff. Disruptor Flutes are interesting here. But I think just having the tempo is what we need. Because we're not going to win the late game unless we're just trying to get final points of damage. Our opponent's end game engine is really strong. So I think this is what we're going for. We could board these in and name White of the Reliquary. Or we could have something that can bounce a White of the Reliquary, delay it for a turn, and also attack. So I just think we're better off with these things. Fleshraker into Fleshraker is a hell of a drug, isn't it? I'm going to keep this. We have a couple of removal spells, and we don't need much for this to go right for us. Let's play this one out. I'm going to name Eldrazi, just so we don't have to pay a bunch of life to use our Dismember with the Ancient Tomb. What would I kill if our opponent plays it? Would I kill a Mana Dork? Interestingly, Once Upon a Timing before... after they've played a land. I thought you might want to see. We're going to play this Hierarch. I don't think we can afford to use our Dismember on a Hierarch. Right, so we're going to get a Fleshraker in. The plan is next turn play a Fleshraker, get 2 triggers off the Lotus Petal, and then we can... Alright, we're just getting a Snuff out. Sure. Alright, you were good for 4 damage, Fleshraker. 4 damage and discard a card. Not great as a rate for 3 mana. So this is where I would like to point my Dismembers. Reality Smasher, you say. Alright, Glaring Fleshraker. Let's get you in first. This is going to make us a friend. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we don't have enough for the Reality Smasher. But we can kill this. I think I will sacrifice an Eldrazi Spawn token rather than a Lotus Petal. Next turn we can get a Smasher in. And have another Dismember ready to go. Probably getting a Surveil land at the end step here, Underground Mortuary. No, a Dryad Arbor, okay. So this is going to make their Cradle tap for more mana. Quirion Ranger. Can give them a little boost of mana. Feels like a natural order line, perhaps. Could just be a Green Sun Zenith. Okay. X equals 3. Well, they're going to Grist and take out our Fleshraker. But then we get to attack and kill their Grist with our Reality Smasher. Or we could just Reality Smasher their face. Linebreaker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Do I care about this Grist? Or do I just want to go to face? Like, they make a 1-1. All our stuff has trample. I don't think we care about the Grist right now. I'm just going to attack their face. And then next turn, we've got basically 2 Reality Smashes. We've got 10 trample damage coming in next turn. Our opponent can't minus the Grist because they already did that last turn. They need to build up. So they're going to have a 1/1 insect off of it. So they can block 3 damage, but we have 10 trample coming in. And we have the Dismember, which can then fire through and force through another point of damage, possibly more if their blockers are chunkier. Another Bayou. Get yourself an insect. They milled over a land. That's good for us. If they mill over creatures, it pumps a potential white of the Reliquary. Right, so tapping a Dryad Arbor. So the total amount of power that is in play is going to be less. Or going to be the same as if they just had another 1/1 there, right? In terms of mana, they got 4/4 here. This will die to Dismember. Yeah, I think we're fine. So they get to untap a creature, so they have an additional blocker in a second. Glaring Fleshraker. If we play the Glaring Fleshraker, then we play the Linebreaker. Yeah, that works. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's play a Fleshraker here. This is good for another 2 points of damage, effectively. We get our trigger here. Get to ping again. Go to attacks. Attack all creatures at our opponent. So this is 12 points of trample damage, and they have 5 points of toughness. Alright, we did the Stompy thing. Ignoring the Grist, probably the thing that ends up winning us that game as well. Alright, I think that looked alright. Let's just go back in again. This hand is terrible, so we're not going to be keeping this one. This hand is pretty middling. We got some interaction though. I'm going to keep it on bottom and eye. So we can take out 2 creatures with this hand. Endless One is probably the worst creature in our deck though. It's just like a placeholder more or less, because we just need a better Eldrazi than that to really get where we need to go. Another Dismember. Okay, let's play this Cavern on Eldrazi. We're not playing out a 1-mana 1/1. We could have played the Eye and then had a 2/2. But I don't think that's good either. White on the Reliquary. This is going to get dismembered immediately. Ancient Tomb. Do I want a 3/3 creature? Not especially, if I'm being honest. I think we just play out the Ancient Tomb. This gives us a Kozilek's Command for 1 if we want it. Right, you're going to have Mana Dorks. They get to attack for 2 here. I don't think it's worth burning a Kozilek's Command on this. It's only 2 damage. I think we just take it. An Eldrazi Linebreaker. That is worth my time, isn't it? So, is there a way that we can play this without tapping our Ancient Tomb? No. So we play out the Eye of Ugin here. We can play out this Linebreaker. Then we can play out a 3/3 Endless One as well. Because of the Eye of Ugin, makes us a 3/3. This means that when we attack with our Eldrazi Linebreaker, we get an extra point of damage. We also have a creature that can block what they've got in front of them. Right, they're just snuffing out our Linebreaker, leaving us with our worst creature. Cool. Okay, Underground Mortuary. Don't think they're attacking here. Excellent. Now, Eldrazi Linebreaker, you say? I don't mind those. Let's play this, name Eldrazi. This time we can cast this without hurting ourselves. And we can still hold open a Kozilek's Command if we need it. Are you going to snuff us out? I would like to attack with the Linebreaker and hold back the Endless One. Get stuck in Linebreaker. And Endurance. We can take a lot of damage to kill this Endurance. I think that's acceptable. We could Kozilek's Command for 2. And then Dismember. I think we're just going to Dismember this though. It's going to cost us some life, but it is what it is. We are the aggros. And now they're going to snuff it out as well. Okay. 1 card left in our opponent's hand. Our board is currently holding theirs back. We have a very good card in our hand. 3 mana. It's going to be a green sun for White of the Reliquary. I suspect that's what's happening. We can exile that and draw some cards, or draw a card. It's probably fine. We need to do this before they untap, because otherwise it can just phase itself out by getting the Talon Gates. Okay, this is a pretty good find. So this costs us 1 mana to play the Fleshraker. I'm going to exile target creature, and then I think we're just going to scry here. So we'll scry, we'll exile this. Our life total is a touch precarious. Snuffing out the Fleshraker, although their life total isn't great either. Reality Smasher, yes. Put this on the bottom. I don't think I want the Battlemage either, though. Okay. I don't think we're attacking with our 3/3 this turn. We attack next turn and we force the blocks. Triple Snuff Out is killing our creatures, but it's also hurting our opponent a great deal. We're going to see another Zenith here. Feels like a Zenith. Yep, so this is going to be a 4/4 again. Kozilek's Command, you say? Okay, so we're going to exile their creature. Do I want to scry? Or do I want some spawns? I think I want spawns, since our Ancient Tomb is probably not going to work out for much longer. So we go 1, 2. This will take out the white and give us some spawns. This costs 3 mana. Am I going to tap this Ancient Tomb for the final time? I think I am. So we attack with both of these. It forces a chump block from the Noble Hierarch. We have 2 1/1 blockers. Our opponent only gets 1 card. Is the card you draw for turn good enough to beat my board? They haven't scooped yet. Alright, they are done. Okay, we managed to get there in the end. The first game, we sort of showed the fail rate of Eldrazi, where sometimes if you don't draw the right mix of lands and spells in your deck that doesn't have the most manipulation outside of the Kozilek's Command, you can just do nothing. But we also showed how our deck can do some pretty gross things and have some big bodies. Let's go to round 2. Sure, I'll keep this one. I'm not going to be best friends with Wastelands, but this is turn 2. Alright, our opponent's mulligan to 5. Are we just going to get killed on turn 1? It's entirely possible. So this is turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer, turn 3 Smasher. A classic curve. I think I play out the Ancient Tomb here. I'm not expecting our opponent to necessarily be a Wasteland deck. Normally the Wasteland decks tend not to mulligan this heavily. Now obviously you can still just get bad hands and have to mulligan. A Misty Rainforest and pass. Well, I think we're going to get our Thought-Knot Seer on the go. They're going to daze this. Oh, they're going to cast it in Tomb, are they? And then are they going to daze? There is an Atraxa. That's certainly better than the creatures in my deck. But we're in with a Thought-Knot Seer, so we can hopefully stop our opponent from reanimating. We'll take the reanimate, please. Chalice looks pretty good against what our opponent's doing here. But I think we're just going to be getting the beats done before our opponent draws like an Animate Dead or something. Because we can just bounce their creature once it comes into play, and because it's a cast trigger, they don't get to stop it with Force of Wills. So I think we're just going to keep applying the pressure. Oh, cool. They found a reanimate. Nice. Okay, what have we got over here? 2 brainstorms, they can't take them both. A lot of options to choose from here. They choose Force of Will, Murktide, Undercity Sewers, Thoughtseize. Alright, we have an answer for this Atraxa they can't deal with, which is something. Snow-covered waste, is that where I need to be right now? No. So play this on Eldrazi. We will kicker this, bouncing their Atraxa. And then I'm going to play a 3/3 Endless one, because 3/3 is kind of the magic number against Tamiyo's and stuff. And then we crack in for 4. You can Thoughtseize us if you want, opponent, but your life total is pretty precarious. 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. So if they Undercity Sewers, they can just mill whatever they have on top and then play the Murktide region, and it will be 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll be 6 or 7. Okay, so now they get to Thoughtseize, and it could be a 7. Can we beat that? Maybe? If we put enough damage into our opponent, the problem is they can counterspell our creature. Actually, sorry, this is a 6/6. And they have a Tamiyo to go with it. Alright, Cavern of Souls is a good draw for us here. Glaring Fleshraker. Okay, I'll play this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we can play this Fleshraker. Is our opponent going to counterspell this? We want them to counterspell this so we can play the Reality Smasher. Alright. So that's gone. Then we can get the Smasher in. So last card in hand of Daze. It's not. So we attack with everything. They block here. They block here. They take 7. Okay, so this blocks here. They take 5. Yeah, I think we're just sending them all in here. They can block the Reality Smasher. But they're going to lose their Tamiyo and take at least 5 damage. Yep, so they're going to take the 5 here. We have a lethal swing next turn. Our opponent can't cast a Thoughtseize in their hand. They have 1 mystery card. Any good? Thought-Knot Seer. Okay, I'm going to cast this Chalice of Void where X equals 1 first. And I'm going to take a peek at their hand. See if there's some more information that we can enjoy. An Orcish Bowmasters. Sure. That is additional bodies. So if we attack with everything here, it doesn't actually help us out very much. So if we attack with everything, they kill our Thought-Knot Seer, draw a card. They block the Wastescape Battlemage, kill it, and then they chump block the endless one. If we wait one more turn and attack, then we just kill our opponent dead. And we've blanked a load of cards in our opponent's deck with this Chalice. Undercity Sewers. What is the 1 mystery card in your hand, opponent? If it's a creature or a removal spell that you can cast. Okay, they can't cast it, and we win the game. So, there's some interesting levels going on with sideboarding here. So, we have Leyline the Void in our sideboard. Our opponent knows that we have Leyline the Void in our sideboard. That's a standard Eldrazi thing to do. Our opponent's deck is very good at pivoting away from being a graveyard deck. So if we board in these Leylines and we draw them and they're bad, then our deck, you know, it kind of needs every card to cross the finish line. So if we have any blanks, then our opponent is probably going to be pulling ahead. So what we can do instead is Chalice can block out the Entombs. It can also block out Reanimate. So this is kind of answering stuff whilst also hitting their fair plan by hitting Fatal Pushes, Ponders, Brainstorms, Tamiyos, the works. So the Chalice is very, very strong here. So this is kind of going to be answering the graveyard in a lot of ways. And then, as you saw, if they do put something into play, we can just bounce out of play with the Battlemage. So what we're going to do here is pivot not into some sort of Leyline in the Void type thing, but just continuing our plan, but having Wastescape Battlemages. I don't think we want the Dismembers to deal with the Barragoyfs, because sometimes that doesn't work. We're going to be trying to tempo and bounce them out. But I suspect Barragoyf is going to be a nightmare for us. What would I like to keep in our deck? I think I don't really want the Sire of 7 Death, because if our opponent Thoughtseize and reanimates it, we're going to feel awful. So I think we're just boarding in the Battlemage and going from there. I suspect our opponent probably wins this game on the play, and then on the draw we can get our aggro over the line. Interesting looking hand. We have some Graveyard Hate in here that's flexible. We have a Thought-Knot Seer that we can do some stuff with. Wasteland is always going to sort of be a horrible thing. I think we're going to keep this one. Suspecting our opponent's pivoted away from the graveyard plan. Now, they might still have something in there, like some reanimate, so they can just hit our creatures and reanimate them off of Thoughtseizers. That's a very common play pattern for reanimator decks. Right. Build over a Ponder. City of Traitors. That's not really the one I want right now, is it? I don't particularly want to play the Ancient Tomb into a Wasteland. I would rather have the land that doesn't actually tap for mana Wastelanded, especially since it's legendary. No Wasteland, that's good news for us. We've got some choices here. We could try and get this Thought-Knot Seer, but it's into a Daze. I don't particularly like that. Then we're going to go for a Fleshraker, and then we're going to Endless one. And it's going to be 3/3, which is the size we need to get through their Tamiyos. We are a little bit shields down to reanimation, but if they had Entomb reanimate, they would have just sent it last turn anyway. Consign to Memory. Sure, it's a pretty good one. Let's get an Endless one down. Just a little 3/3. Brainstorm. Does feel like some Consign to Memory is in our future, doesn't it? I think we deploy this Wasteland so we can play the Thought-Knot Seer around a Daze before we attack. Try and get a little indication of what our opponent might be putting down, if it's safe to attack or not. Alright, we're in with the Thought-Knot Seer. They could kill this in response. Okay, they did not kill it in response. Orcish Bowmasters, Reanimate, Force of Will, Murktide Regent. How do I feel about these cards? Murktide Regent is a little scary. I think we take the Murktide here. If they want a Bowmasters, they'll trade a Bowmasters for a horrendous one. And I can live with that. So we could have not taken the Murktide and held them off of their blue-blue by using the Wasteland. But I'm not really convinced that's a great idea for us. Alright, here is the Bowmasters. So they're going to ping this, put both bodies into it, but then we'll be left with a 4-4, and they'll have nothing in hand that does anything. I guess they can reanimate their Bowmasters. That's not exciting. Right, let's just take out this Undercity Sewers for now. Keep our opponent off of blue-blue. I think they might burn their reanimate on the Bowmasters, but that doesn't really matter when we have a 4-4. If they wait on it, then we might be able to get something. Okay, so I'm just going to reanimate the Bowmasters. That's fine. A Reality Smasher. Pretty good. Right, let's attack with our Thought-Knot Seer. So this Kozilek's command is going to be hit by a Force of Will. But that's okay. Undercity Sewers. So we have information of what our opponent has in hand. It is just the Force of Will. I don't believe they're attacking here. I think this is just chump block trying to buy time. And then we're going to Kozilek's command. Let's make some guys here. I don't think our life total is that relevant. I'm not expecting this to resolve. This should get rid of the Force of Wills. And then allows us to untap into Reality Smasher. There it is. Excellent. And Eldrazi Temple. Don't mind if I do. Reality Smasher. 1, 2, 3. Let's smash some reality. So they're living off the top. We've got 9 power in play. We've also got some Kozilek's command action. A Brainstorm. Sure, they're still only left with 1 card at the end of it, and if it's a Baragoyf, we can kill it with the Kozilek's command. We are not going to fire this Kozilek's command off. We're just going to hold it until they deploy something that we can answer with it. Because the one way we can lose this game is a big Baragoyf. Alright, our opponents had enough. They've brainstormed themselves. A nice 2-0 against the best deck in the format. Somehow we're getting there. Let's go to round 3. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. Turn 1, Linebreaker. Turn 2, nothing. But we're on the draw, so we have 2 draw steps to try and find something. I think this is okay. Like, any land in our hand is great. If we find, like, a land that taps for red mana, then we're going Linebreaker, Linebreaker, Thought-Knot Seer. And that is a lot of beef. Alright, Polluted Delta. Are we in Blue-Black Reanimator Town again? Could be. It's going to be Tamiyo. It is a Tamiyo. Nice Tamiyo. Would be a shame if I were to break your lines with my weird, terrifying monster. It's probably going to get dazed though, and we're going to feel sad. Secluded Courtyard. Alright, we're just going to do Linebreaker, Linebreaker. Just have a good time. If they daze this, it's annoying, but it does at least stop them from cracking clues for a bit. Okay, we got a Force. Okay, Thassa's Oracle went, so our opponent's a Doomsday deck rather than a Blue-Black Reanimator player. Doomsday isn't so bad for us. Because we are really good at applying pressure to our opponent's life total, the card Doomsday itself can be a bit scary for our opponent to cast. Now, sure, they can just have the really, really quick turn 1, turn 2 wins, and that's, you know, all well and good. So we can Linebreaker, clip this Tamiyo for 3 damage, yeah, because this will get -1. That's okay. Lotus Petal, 2 cards in our opponent's hand. Secluded Courtyard, name Eldrazi. We've got Daze. They didn't have a Daze last time, but they have obviously brainstormed since then. They could have a Fatal Push. I don't like how long this is sat on the stack for. Maybe we're going to see an emergency brainstorm. Okay, no, it's going to be a fatal push. Oh no, 2 mana. Cracking a clue token. Oh wow, this is big news. Our opponent's all in on trying to stop this, and it didn't work for them. We're going to attack the Tamiyo, so it can't get anything back next turn. Our Wastelands are pretty useful game objects against our opponent's deck, because they are trying to make sure that they cast a Doomsday Pile. The more things that we have to make them think about, the harder it is. Okay, that is a Doomsday. So this is going to put them to, what, 8 life? So if we draw, so we play this, this gets pumped, we kill them. No, this gets +2. So it's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, minus 2 is 7. So we're going to be 1 shy of killing them. Awkward. If you draw a soul land and play the Reality Smasher, we're okay though. And we do have a lot of soul lands in our deck. If we put our opponent to 1, it might stop them from being able to use a Street Wraith. Soul land, please. Just let us have lethal damage. Grim Monolith. That is good enough, isn't it? This is exactly lethal, if I've done my maths correct. They had a Force of Will. Okay, that is awkward for us. I think we are dead now. So we put our opponent to, what, 4 here? So they can cycle 1 Street Wraith, but not 2. I think they just win here, though. They can get back a Brainstorm with a Tamiyo. Age of Autumn cycle. So we've got 2 cards here. So they need to have, like, Lion's Eye Diamond as one of the cards. Yeah, so then they Brainstorm here. Are we supposed to hit their Tamiyo this turn instead? So they can't do that line? Maybe. But we didn't know they were going to do the Brainstorm line. Alright. I would like some Disruptor Flutes and a Torpor Orb here. Cards I don't particularly care too much about. Wastescape Battlemage. Sire 7 Deaths. You are too slow. You can come out. I don't think we need the Kozilek's commands. That's 4 cards. I think that's fine. There is a possibility that our opponent pivots into a fair creature plan. Hopefully we can just beat that with Kozilek's commands. Let's try this. This hand is actually really awkward. So we can't make Fleshraker because the Lotus Petal doesn't give us colourless mana. So turn 2 we would go have Eye of Ugin, Cavern of Souls. So we would play a Fleshraker, play a Lotus Petal, play a Fleshraker, play an Endless one. That's an okay turn 2. Alright, I think I will keep this one. We get another draw step as well. Our main plan is to clock our opponents. I will hang out the Eye of Ugin first, I think. We're not just going to play a 2-2 to pressure our opponent. This is worth 2 damage just by casting it with 2 Fleshrakers in play anyway. So we're not really missing much damage-wise from it. By not playing out, and if we make it bigger, then it ends up better. Again, our opponent's a Tamiyo deck, so having a 3-power creature so it can attack into their 0/3 body is really key. A Duress. So we're going to lose the Lotus Petal. Cavern of Souls, name Eldrazi. Let's play a Fleshraker. This is counterable, but they didn't counter it. Good. Because you have to get the colourless mana, and we can't get that off of Cavern of Souls whilst making it, which is unfortunate for us. Alright, we've got a Brainstorm. So next turn we have Fleshraker into Endless one. So that's going to do quite a lot of damage to our opponent. Now we could draw something like a Thought-Knot Seer, which maybe changes our approach. Got this Misty Rainforest going here. Is this going to be... Okay, it's a Thoughtseize. So we're going to take the Fleshraker here. Unfortunate. Eldrazi Temple. So it's going to be a 5/5. Which is a pretty good body. Should be able to trade into a lot of things. Can trade into a Shouldered, which is the common creature pivot that you see out of Doomsday, like Turbo Doomsday decks. Now sometimes you will get a Barragoyf. And at the moment, I think we got what? Sorcery, instant land, artifact creature. So it's going to be 5/6, so it's not going to trade into a Barragoyf. But we can block a Barragoyf with an Eldrazi spawn token and sacrifice it. Alright, we're doing Dark Ritual into Doomsday. Are they going to kill us this turn? It's entirely within the realms of possibility. Alright, so they've made their Doomsday pile, and now they're brainstorming into their pile. They should be able to win this turn. Lion's Eye Diamond, so they can crack this in response to any Cycler they fire off. Yeah. And then they can just go Consider into Thassa's Oracle. Yep, couldn't quite get there. This is actually a matchup that I don't mind Eldrazi in, but we just couldn't quite get over the line. And our opponent's hand was pretty good there. Alright, let's go to round number 4. There is a lot of land in this hand. But we do have Cavern, so we can blank a bunch of our opponent's things. I think we're going to keep this. I don't like it, but on the draw we get another card. It doesn't take much for this hand to snowball. But if we draw more land, then we're probably going to lose this game. Which is just unfortunate. Alright, we've drawn a spell. That's good news. Let's get Chalice of the Void in. If this resolves, then I'm going to feel pretty good against the blue deck. But we might be seeing a Daze here. Undercity Sewers, Surveilling. They kept the card on top. We're getting dazed. We are getting dazed. Sure. We have Uncounterable Fleshraker into Uncounterable Reality Smasher. Will it matter in the face of like a big Atraxa? Who knows? Yep, so they are a reanimation deck. Okay, so Cavern of Souls, play this, name Eldrazi. Thoughtseize, they're going to take our remaining piece of pressure. Not great. Our opponent is on a 1-lander over there. I can see why they didn't want us to have the Chalice of the Void. So, this Eldrazi Temple, we're playing this instead of the Eye of Ugin because this means we can actually cast an Uncounterable Fleshraker. Once you play out the Eye of Ugin, you then have to just use colourless mana because you can't put anything into the generic mana. Alright, if we can keep drawing Eldrazi's, we'll be okay here. A Brainstorm from our opponent. Not what I wanted. Are we... I think we're deploying an Eldrazi Temple here. And then we're going to attack them for 4 here. This is making Reanimate an increasingly awkward prospect. Right, they're entombing in their upkeep. So if they entomb and reanimate this turn, then they could die to us drawing any colourless spell. Alternatively, we could just draw rubbish. But our opponent is not having a great time. This is a classic Screw beats Flood. But the game has to go long enough to draw out of it. And our opponent is mana screwed over there, and we are mana flooded. Ponder. So Reanimate is just switched off right now. If we can find a spell, we can kill our opponent next turn. Doesn't have to resolve, it just needs to be a colourless spell. A Tamiyo. Okay, so... Okay, a Chalice of the Void. This is a spell that we can cast. So Force of Will is they die, because we attack them for 2, and they're taking... Actually, no, they die regardless, right? Because both of these see each other. So we're going to make 2 tokens. Each token burns our opponent for 4, then we attack for 4. Alright, we got the game there. Fleshraker matters when you have 2 out is pretty good. So we played against this matchup before, and we just boarded in just the Battlescape Mage, and that was pretty good. So let's try and go again and see if we get another 2-0 against this deck. So we have a Chalice, but it's a Chalice on turn 2. This is kind of bad. We can do an Uncounterable Linebreaker. I guess we could go like City of Traitors Chalice and just let the City of Traitors die. It's not really how I want to be using a City of Traitors, but I think it's fine here. So we can go turn 1 Chalice for 1, turn 2 Uncounterable Eldrazi Linebreaker. That's pretty good. Tamiyo, sure. Alright, we're just in with the Chalice. And if they want to waste down a City of Traitors, we don't care that much. Because it's going to die anyway. It does stop us from making a 3-drop next turn. But this Chalice of the Void should shut down a lot of our opponent's deck. So, Ponder, Brainstorm, Entomb, Reanimate, Fatal Push. Lots of their deck is no longer functional. And they're not a great deck at removing Chalice of the Void. They might have something like Engineered Explosives in their sideboard. It's either that or Brazen Borrower bouncing it. Which is kind of a 2-step problem. Alright, let's play this out. Name Eldrazi. Let's get the big boy in. So they could Orcish Bowmasters and trade for this. Right, they're drawing a card. That's not what's happening. Take 4. They have a Wasteland? Sure. I can Wasteland them off of black, and we can just sit here looking at each other for a bit. Petty Theft. Right, that's pretty good. So now we have to make some decisions about what we're doing with our turn. Ancient Tomb. That's pretty good, isn't it? If we play out of the Ancient Tomb, we can Grim Monolith. We can't deploy this because we have no red mana. I could Kozilek command this. Or I can just take the Wasteland option. See if we can keep our opponent off of... Like, they can't cast 1-drops. And if we take their land, they might be able to cast 2-drops. And then what are they doing with the rest of their time here? Can we just take them off of all spells, and then we can just win at our own leisure? That is the plan here. They had a land in the second main phase. For a minute, I thought we got there. Any explosives for 0. This can blow up the Chalice, but it will also blow up all their clues. Which isn't the worst for us. Let's play Grim Monolith. Are they just going to crack a clue first, and then blow up the explosives on their turn? No, they're going to get rid of all their clues. I could kill the Tamiyo right now. I think I'm going to do it in response to something. Like a Brainstorm. So have fewer cards in their hand, maybe. It does mean they're going to get another clue out of this, but I think I can live with that. Undercity Sewers, sure. Thought Seize. I think I'm going to scry and exile this Tamiyo. So I've got a Brainstorm on top of this, that sucks for us. A Fleshraker. Fleshraker is obviously pretty good. We want to play the card that is a 2-for-1, right? So we get our Kozilek's command down, we take out their thing, and we get a card ourselves. So this Thoughtseize ends up not as bad as if it takes a thing that is worth 2 cards to us. Or they took the Chalice, and they're playing out another Tamiyo. Another Tamiyo is kind of a bit mean. A Lotus Petal. Good, good, good. Okay, so let's play out this Fleshraker. Play out this Lotus Petal. Boom. Which also gives us the Linebreaker as well right now. And we've got a fair few colourless bodies for this Linebreaker to get pumped by. So this is going to turn off Reanimate for our opponent. Ponder, sure. They shuffled their library and they scooped it up. Okay, so we are now 4-0 in games against the best deck in the format. Maybe there's something to this Eldrazi deck after all. So we're going into the final round with a 4-1 on the line. Let's see if we can nab that. I guess I'll keep this one. I would like to draw an Ancient Tomb on my first turn. I'd settle for a second Lotus Petal though. Alright, maybe I'm not so bothered about the Ancient Tomb. Okay, a Welder. Oh, we did draw the Ancient Tomb. Okay, so let's put down this Chalice. I'm not expecting the Chalice to be amazing against our opponent's deck. I'm expecting them to be Painter here. Alright, that is an Urza Saga. So Blood Moon is a thing that Painter decks get to run now. So that is genuinely kind of scary for us. We can kill this Painter if we need to. We don't have to do it right now. We can just get some pressure in play. But if they play a Blood Moon, then we never get to pressure. But if they play a Blood Moon, they don't get the Grindstone off of this. So I think what that means is I'm playing Cavern of Souls on Eldrazi. And I'm just going to play a Linebreaker. Important thing to note here. The Goblin Welder is symmetrical. So you can target any artifact and any artifact in that artifact's controller's graveyard. So if we play this Lotus Petal and crack it, our opponent can just weld out our Chalice of the Void. I'm not about that. Like another Saga, sure. An Engineer. It's going to be the Grindstone. Just another Painter's Servant. Understood. Okay, we're in a bit of a pickle. The Wasteland, pretty darn good right now. Let's take out this Urza Saga that's about to pop. I think that just means we're applying more pressure. So we'll put a pump on each of them, so they're going to be 5 power creatures. I can put everything underneath the bus to kill one of them. Okay. So we've got to not die this turn. That doesn't seem like it's going to be impossible for us to survive. They can't play the Grindstone. Right, so they can make a little Saga construct that's not too scary for us. An Ancient Tomb. Okay, do we just make like a giant Kozilek's command here? I don't think we... It doesn't even get to be that giant, does it? 3. But that's fine, I think, still. So we make 3 spawns. Am I drawing a card here? Or am I trying to kill one of their guys and force action? If we force action... I don't think it really matters here. I think I'm going to draw a card. I don't want to put this Lotus Petal into it because then we die to a Pyroblast. Because they can welder out our Chalice. But each of our creatures is going to get +5. So that's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 trample damage. I think that is sufficient. An Eldrazi Linebreaker, you say? That's pretty good, isn't it? Is this better? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 trample damage. If we spend this and 2 spawns, we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4 bodies. So 4 times 3 is 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. But it opens up the possibility of our opponent pyroblasting one of those creatures. I think 16 trample damage. So we've got 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. So we hit them for 8 with what we currently have showing. Yeah, I think we go to attacks. I don't think we play out the other Linebreaker. Like, Lightning Bolt is a thing that could be in our opponent's deck. Is 16 trample damage enough, opponent? I hope so. Alright, we managed to get there. We just had to keep our opponent off balance for 1 turn without Wasteland. Okay, so Null Rod, you look pretty good. Torpor Orb, not too bad. Wastescape Battlemage. Disruptor Flutes are okay. Not incredible, but okay. You can play the Leylines. I don't particularly like them. I like the Dismembers, though. Do I want a Sire of 7 Deaths? It's good if we go into like the super duper grindy late game. If we're boarding in the Null Rod, it does make our Grim Monolith look worse. And our opponent's deck is running Blood Moon. So we kind of need the Grim Monolith to try and beat the Blood Moon. Sire of 7 Deaths is also a thing we can cast underneath the Blood Moon. Tricky. A very tricky one. Maybe we just get rid of these endless ones. No, I don't... How do I like the Chalice? They have a bunch of 1-drop goblins. And obviously the Pyroblast can be pretty useful here. I'm not in love with the Chalices here. The Fleshraker is one of our ways to get out of Blood Moon as well. Maybe we don't need the Torpor Orb. That leaves us needing 1 more cut. I like our removal spells a lot, so we're not going to cut those. I like the Wastelands a lot. Is it the Sire of 7 Deaths? Or is it just like a Smasher or an endless one? I think it's going to be 1 Smasher. Is that true? I have a lot of stuff that we want to try and play about. If we get into like a grindy mid-rangey game where they've got a Blood Moon on the go to stop our lands, having the Sire of 7 Deaths is just a thing we can pay 7 mana for. It will just completely win the game for us. Endless one is something we can cast underneath the Blood Moon as well, and can be bigger than our opponent's creatures. Maybe I'll take out 1 Endless one. We'll try this. I'm obviously a little bit decisive. I think you could... There's options, like having the Chalice in the main deck. Having the Chalice in the deck post board is pretty reasonable. What does this do? This is turn 1 Dismember, turn 2 Eldrazi Linebreaker. Keep swinging, and then hopefully our opponent dies. I think that's fine. Lotus Petal, are we just going to get Blood Moon on 1? We are going to get Blood Moon on 1. This means we don't have to worry about Urza's Saga. That's fine by me. So, what do we play here? I don't really want to play this out just in case they've got the double face land that blows up a land. Actually, that only hits non-basics, I think. All of our lands are mountains, apart from this. So it doesn't really matter what land we play out. Alright, let's just get the Temple out. Having this on our opener is another reason why this hand was a very good keep. Goblin Engineer. They can get what they want, and then we'll kill this. Is this going to be a Phyrexian Dragon Engine for value later on? No, it's a Painted Servant. Right, let's just get rid of this guy while we can. Get out of here, you. Again, we might as well just sandbag this until we actually need the colourless mana. If we find a Lotus Petal, we can get this Wastescape Battlemage to blow up the Blood Moon. That is a Grindstone. That's a little bit spooky. I don't think our opponent can win next turn, though, so I think we're just going to go send in a threat and just have that going. Really glad we have the 1-of Waste in our deck at this precise moment in time. No Lightning Bolt from our opponent. Excellent. I don't believe they can kill us this turn. Okay, they're casting a Phyrexian Dragon Engine. This has double strike. 3 mana, 4 mana, 5 mana. We could just Dismember this and just keep cracking. I think that's fine. So we can play out a land. I'm just going to play out this guy as a 2-2. We just need to get the beats. Obviously, it gives us +1 damage to the Linebreaker, so it's effectively like a 3-3. Our opponent is dead on the next turn. I don't believe they're going to have the mana to play and activate a Grindstone this turn. They are evoking a Fury. They get to kill 1 of our creatures. Because 3 and 2 is more than 4. So they're going to take out our Linebreaker because that's obviously the scary creature. But we have them dead with this Reality Smasher. No cards in hand. Here's exactly 7 damage to your face, please, opponent. Alright, we got the game and the match. Yeah. Pretty good. The only thing that beat us was Doomsday. We 2-0'd Blue-Black Reanimator twice. We 2-0'd Painter. We 2-1 the Cradle Control deck. Yeah, that's pretty good, to be honest. Let's talk about the list. Genuinely, I was not expecting us to do as well as we did today. I was certainly not expecting us to crunch through those Blue-Black Reanimator decks quite like we did. I think a big part of that is that we didn't bother with like Leyline in the Void sideboarding. I think that is a trap in that matchup. I don't think Leyline in the Void is very good against Blue-Black Reanimator. Part of the thing about this current format that we find ourselves in is the 2 best decks in the format, Oopsal Spells and Blue-Black Reanimator, are both graveyard decks, right? However, they require very different graveyard hate to actually beat. So Leyline in the Void does basically nothing against Blue-Black Reanimator because they just play a tempo game and then eventually they can all either bounce the Leyline or just ignore it or whatever. But it's obviously very good against Oopsal Spells. Although, you know, sometimes they just have it and you lose. Whereas against Blue-Black Reanimator, what you actually want is something like Fairy Macabre. But Fairy Macabre doesn't work against Oopsal Spells because of the Jack-O-Lantern Memories Journey plan that they have. So even though we have 2 graveyard decks, you can't play the same graveyard hate against both. And that is kind of awkward, really. However, we kind of just navigated through that by saying, we're not really going to mess with the graveyard. We've got some Kozilek's Command. If we need it in a push, this can exile cards from graveyards, which is one of the modes on it. We can bounce their creatures when they come into play, and this is uncounterable. So the line of, okay, I'm going to stabilize by putting an Attractor into play, having this big lifelink body, and backing it up with this Force of Will I found, doesn't matter if you're just on cast bouncing it, because they can't deal with that. So you bounce it back to their hand, and you carry on attacking, and then their stabilization failed, which is exactly what we did. And Chalice of the Void shuts off a bunch of their reanimation lines, as well as their fair lines. I think something I mentioned earlier in the video was that you can't afford to have like bad dead draws in your deck with Eldrazi. Because we're not playing the One Ring here, we do just have to play the cards as they come off the top of the library and make sure we're leveraging every draw step as best we can. And having a bunch of Leylines in your deck does not do that. Now, obviously, you need the Leylines when you're coming against Oopsal Spells, but I think it is wrong to board them in against Blue-Black Reanimator when we can just have another Battle Mage and just rely on Chalices and stuff like that. Sure, that's not going to work every time, but I think it's fine. You can also board in the one-off Karakas to do another thing and like to have another way of bouncing the Attractor and also padding your mana base against things like Wasteland. Just having an extra land in there isn't the worst. So maybe we could have boarded in the Karakas as well to help in that matchup. But we smashed it 2-0 twice, so that's not bad going. Maybe this is the future of Eldrazi. I did enjoy playing the red Eldrazi build I played probably a month or 2 ago now. This is much more of a sort of standard looking Eldrazi list. I think the other one that got a 5-0 a couple of days ago was running Null Drifter instead of the Sire of 7 Deaths, but otherwise was pretty similar, I would say. So I think there's definitely something here, and it felt pretty good. Now there's going to be some horrible matchups that just crunch us. Like, I think some of the control-y matchups can be quite difficult if they're just removal.deck, and things like Death and Taxes, they can soak up some of the damage with some of their early bodies, and then they just grind you out with the value in the mid to late game. So there's definitely going to be some issues in some matchups. But when you're looking at the best decks in the format, I think this is pretty reasonable, to be honest. I wouldn't be ashamed to play this at like a mid-sized tournament. It is a little bit sketchy where you don't have the most agency, which is one of the problems with Stompy decks. You don't necessarily have the ability to outplay people because you have to, you know, play the cards in your hand. You're drawing cards for your turn and you're sort of hoping they can get the job done. It's about sequencing is like the main decisions. Mulligans and sequencing and sideboarding. There's not like individual like ponders style decisions in how to use your resources. We did get a couple of situations where like, okay, I'm not going to cast this Kozilek's Command. I'm just going to hold it in hand in case they play something like a Barragoyf, because that's how we lose this game. There's a few little things like that where, you know, you could maybe spew off and like, oh, I'm just going to get a load of tokens and some cards. Oh no, my opponent's played a Barragoyf, I lose. But generally speaking, it's not the most difficult deck to play once you get past the, like, how can I keep this hand? How do I interact in this matchup? That sort of thing. But yeah, maybe Eldrazi is a little bit more viable than people give it credit for. I'll be interested to see if more people start getting some 5-0s and maybe getting some joy in some challenges with this. But the deck felt pretty sweet today, and I hope you enjoyed seeing some giant terrifying monsters from another realm or whatever they're from. Alright, Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.